Without further ado, let's get into the match review, starting off with our match. First game of the season, Everton 3, Southampton 1, back at Goodison Park. Obviously, it was great to have the fans there once again, just to hear the noise of a real authentic crowd and not the noise of some MP3 clip that they just clipped up from a match day one time on the TV. It was great to see. It was great to see the fans in there. It was great to see a full Goodison. It was good to see Goodison bouncing, singing, and getting into the match and pushing the players on in that second half more specifically. Like, that was really a really good effort. It was good to see players like Richarlison really thrive off the crowd. It was good to see players like Alan and Decore, who have never experienced a packed Goodison like that, to really sort of thrive off that, and I thought Decore did so specifically well. And it was just great to see a packed Goodison, and it obviously helped with the result. But we'll get more into it in a second here. Obviously, in terms of a little bit of match statistics and that sort of stuff, we had 48% of the possession, and then Southampton had 52%. We had 14 shots and 6 on target. Southampton had 6 shots and 3 on target. And of course, possession doesn't always match up to what you do in the match. And I think we saw that a lot, especially under the Carlo Ancelotti regime, where we sort of gave up possession under Carlo a lot. I don't think we sort of wanted to give up possession here against Southampton. It was just sort of more the way of the style that we played, specifically more towards the end of that second half, is sort of lent to be more possession based for Southampton, which again doesn't matter if you don't do anything with that possession, and Southampton didn't really do a lot with that possession. Obviously, we have to talk about it. In the 22nd minute, Michael Keane makes an absolute shock horror mistake. I don't know what the hell he was doing. I don't know if he was just got it tangled up in his feet, or he couldn't see anyone to pass it to. If you get into that situation, mate, just kick it. Just hoof the ball out of there. There's no point playing this fancy football. You're a centre back. You're meant to just whack it. Just get clear of the ball. But he doesn't do that. Che Adams and Adam Armstrong really did a number on our centre backs today, and I'll get more into that later. But the pressing that those two lads did, Armstrong's press on the Michael Keane mistake, and then that finish was really, really good, by the way. Very, very good finish from Adam Armstrong there. And we're 1-0 down after a 20 minutes that I would say we started off very lively. We started on the front foot. You had Andros Townsend, Demarai Gray doing really well on the wings, Demarai Gray more through the middle in that first half. And I thought Andros Townsend, with the crosses that he was putting into Dom, I thought honestly we could have been 1-0 up in that first 20 minutes. Like, we should have been 1-0 up within that first 20 minutes. But it's just that chemistry, and Dom not knowing exactly how to play with a player like Andros Townsend, someone who's going to whip a ball in first and think to tippy-tappy play it around later, you know, that sort of thing. So it's just going to grow over time, that chemistry between those two players. And I think that is definitely something that we can build upon. And I think that's something that we are going to build upon, and that's something that we can definitely play to our strengths, because obviously Dom is the best header of the ball in the Premier League, and I think statistically wise, that backs it up. So again, it proves to the game plan that we set out with, especially within the first 20 minutes, to get the ball into the box, let Dom attack it, and let's see what happens there. And I think that's something that we are definitely going to play across throughout the entirety of the season. But obviously that mistake came in the 22nd minute, and I felt like, you know, it was a lot of, from the 22nd minute onwards until the end of the first half, it was very sort of weird, because it was like, okay, that goal goes in, and it's like, okay, Everton are back again. And then it's just that you're just going through the motions, like, especially on Twitter, and you see everyone's like, oh my god, get Rafa out, Agent Rafa, we're gonna get relegated, like all of this mumbo jumbo overreaction garbage. Like, I wasn't overreacting to that extent. I thought at the end of that first half specifically, we didn't play very well, especially with the packed Goodison. You think you get the fans there, you get the fans to push the players on, but I think as well as that, when that goal went in, and especially in the manner that they scored that goal as well, it sort of deflated the crowd a little bit. And it sort of just, it was just a weird ending. Like, that, it was a weird 20 or so minutes up until the end of that first half, where you just sort of, you're sitting there and you're watching, and I don't know what it was like at Goodison, because obviously I live in Australia. But I was watching that game, and I'm just thinking, man, like, where is the goal coming from? Because we looked deflated. We looked like we were trying too hard to get that goal. And I think that Richarlison was doing a bit too much on that left-hand side. I think that we were playing with the ball a bit too much, and like, we just tried to control that game, and it wasn't working. So I think for that first half, and within that first half, I was sort of just sitting here and I was just thinking, oh man, can we just get another goal and then get at least a draw from this game? Like, that was my mindset going into that first half. Just get another goal, come out here with at least a point, and then we go on to next week. And obviously that wasn't the idea from the manager, and we'll get more into that, but that was my thinking. And I'm sure that's what a lot of you guys at home were thinking as well. It was definitely a tale of two halves, that game. And I think if you watch highlights, you would never understand that. Like, if you would have just watched this game from a 3-minute highlight reel, you wouldn't get how different that game was from first to second half. Because first half, it was 20 minutes of, okay, this is the Premier League, we're back again, full fans at Goodison, like, it's all nice. Then the goal goes in, and then it's just deflation. And then the second half, as soon as we started that second half, I had a good feeling about the second half. I had a good feeling about at least getting a goal back, but I had a really good feeling about winning the game, because we came out in that second half, and the tactical changes that the manager made in that second half were something that we would have never seen under Carlo. And I'm not afraid to admit that. Like, when Carlo left, I was devastated. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is the end of my supporting Everton thing. I was devastated because it was another manager leaving the club. It was another summer of destabilization or destability. That's the word. And it was just going to be another manager in the dugout, where for the longest time, all I wanted Everton to do was have a manager for 2 seasons at least. And I know we had that under Marco Silva, but then he got sacked the second season. So I sort of just wanted to get and have a manager, and especially a manager like Carlo, like a big name, someone who's won literally everything, someone that can attract players even though that we don't have European footballs, like we saw the likes of Allen and James Rodriguez coming because of him. And then I sort of was not amazed by Rafa, and I wasn't. Like, Rafa was not the name on the top of my list. Like, and I don't think any Evertonian or anyone, I don't think he would have been top 5 of any of our lists. But then you look at the manager that he is, and besides the point of the Liverpool link, like, and for me, right, I'm only 21. So, and I only started supporting Everton in 2011. So, Rafa wasn't even Liverpool manager by the time that I started supporting Everton. But I understand for the older Everton fans who knew Rafa back in 08 when he said those things about Everton being a small club and that sort of stuff. I understand where the feelings come from, but obviously right now you look at the manager that he is. He's won Champions Leagues. He's won trophies before. He's kind of a similar manager to Carlo in the way of accolades, but obviously not to that caliber just yet. But what he is, he's a coach. Carlo was a very hands-off coach. Carlo was very much, we saw what he said to the players, like when he left, like he just told the players to go play. And we saw how he was in the Tottenham game, where it was like 5-4 if I remember the score correctly, and he's just over there sipping his coffee. What I saw different with Rafa, and what we've seen different with Rafa throughout the whole preseason and his interviews and everything like that, is he's a coach. And that is what this squad of players need. They need a coach. They don't need someone to just tell them to go play, because they're not Cristiano Ronaldo, Luka Modric, Marcelo, Gareth Bale, Benzema. Like, they're not those world-class players. They are good Premier League players that need coaching. So that is what Rafa brings. But Rafa's a coach. We've seen it. I think there was an interview with Andros Townsend where he said that during a training session, he did a stupid skill and it led to them not scoring a goal in a training. And then Rafa pulled him aside and for 10 minutes told him why he shouldn't do that. Rafa's a coach. And that is exactly what I am liking about Rafa as our manager, is because this group of players suits Rafa as a manager. This group of players didn't suit Carlo as a manager. If this group of players was 11 superstars, then sure, Carlo Ancelotti is a manager for that. But this group of players needs a coach, someone that will drill a style of play into them, and someone that will drill them fitness-wise, someone that get them in peak fitness and condition for the Premier League, and that is what Rafa is. Rafa is that type of manager, a manager that will get the ideas into the players so that they will execute them. And he's not afraid to cut a James Rodriguez. And I know James wasn't cut, but this is just an example. He's not afraid to cut a James Rodriguez because James doesn't want to play in 38 games of the season, or he doesn't want to run around, or he doesn't want to press, or he doesn't want to do what he wants him to do. Rafa will play the 11 players that do what he wants them to do. And that is what I like about him. And that is what I like about that second half, because he wasn't afraid to make a tactical change. If it was under Carlo, then we would have probably got a goal back and then maybe sat back for a result, or maybe we wouldn't even got a goal back and we concede another goal because nothing would have changed within the system. We would have just told the players to go play, and then nothing would have changed. But what we did within that second half is they switched Michael Keane and Mason Holgate around. So from my understanding, Michael Keane was starting on the left side of the centre-back pairing, and then they just switched it around so that Michael Keane was on the right and Mason Holgate was on the left, so that Michael Keane would have dealt with that physicality of Che Adams more, and then Mason Holgate could deal with a little bit more of the pace of Adam Armstrong, which worked. So the switching of the centre-backs and where they're positioned worked. They also moved Demarai Gray out from the middle of the pitch more, it seemed, out onto the left-hand side, and then sort of started playing with two strikers, with Richie playing off of Dom. And that worked really, really well, because not only did it free up Richie to do what he does best, and that's score goals, but it also gave us a bit more, I want to say, width, because you had Andros off the right, who was giving us great width, and Seamus as well. Seamus was sort of bombing up and down and doing his thing, and I thought Seamus had a really good game as well. But we had that width on the right, but we didn't necessarily have that width off the left. The Southampton right back, what's his name? Liveramento. He was really locking down Richarlison. And I don't know if that's down to fatigue or whatever it was, but he was really locking down Richie, which means Luca Dean wasn't even able to bomb on that much. Like, he wasn't really doing that much in the first half in terms of going up and down the pitch, getting balls into the box like we know that he can. But once Demarai Gray went onto the left-hand side, Damarai's pace was a really, really big factor in dealing with Liveramento and his defensive capabilities, but it also freed up Luca Dean to sort of come up on the overlap, and so that they could sort of play off of each other. And that pace and that power that Demarai brought to the left-hand side really, really helped us open up the pitch. And obviously having two strikers in the middle of the caliber of Dom and Richie also let us sort of play better football. And I thought also the tactical change of letting Decore bomb up more. Let Decore be more of an attacking midfielder. And again, we saw an interview with Decore this week where Carlo wanted him to play more of a defensive role, but if you know him from his time at Watford, you know he's a man that likes to get into the box and score goals as well and contribute that way. He's a pure box-to-box midfielder, and that is what Rafa's letting him do. Get up into the pit, get up into the final third of the pitch, score goals, and we saw that with his goal in the 76th minute. That little pirouette turn that he did, you never really thought he was going to get the ball under control, and then he smacks it in the top right-hand corner. And the little tactical nuances and the little tactical changes that we saw in the second half just shows that Rafa knows what he's doing. He knows how to get these players wins. He knows how to get wins. He realizes and he acknowledges when it's not working. Because in the first half, I think we really tried to play this sort of like tiki-taka, pass the ball around the back, get it to the left-hand side, and then swing it to the right-hand side, and then maybe go, and then get it to Andros, and then Andros will pass it in, and cross it in or whatever, and I just think it wasn't working. And whatever we did in the second half, whether that be the tactical changes, or whether that be the managers just saying, just go direct, long ball FC, get the ball into the final third, let's make something happen here. That was the change that made that second half such a stark contrast to the first. Because as I said, definitely a tale of two halves. I want to talk about our debutants for a little bit. Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend. I thought they were very solid. I really thought they were solid. I thought Andros was great on that right-hand side. I thought he was really good tracking back and getting tackles in, more so second half than first. And I thought his deliveries were very, very crucial. And I think that as this squad sort of gels together, they will learn, especially Richie and Dom, will learn how to feed off of those Townsend crosses. Now, Andros Townsend was never going to be the flash signing that Leon Bailey was, right? Or a Hervig Lozano, or an Anthony from Ajax. But what he is exactly what this squad needed. A dead ball specialist, a crossing specialist, and just a good Premier League player. He's not the most amazing signing, and I wasn't infatuated by the signing of Andros Townsend from Crystal Palace on a free, but what he is a good Premier League player, and he suits the strengths of this squad. He really does. Because you attach the best header of the ball in the Premier League with one of the most consistent crossers in the Premier League, and you will get results. And we will definitely be seeing results. Now, he didn't get an assist off of a cross. He got an assist off a header, which is interesting. But what he brought to that team. And as I said, as the team starts to gel and as the team starts to fit better with him, then we will only see better results. Richie will score a bunch of headed goals this season. Dom will score a bunch of headed goals this season because he's on the pitch. And I thought a very, very solid debut from Andros Townsend. I'm very happy from what I saw from him, and I hope that it continues. Demarai Gray as well. I thought first half he was very in and out of the game. He tried some things, it didn't necessarily work. I thought again what he brings in terms of pace, explosivity, crossing ability was very, very good. I thought his role down the middle didn't necessarily suit him. He definitely looked more comfortable out wide on the left. And I think that that's where Rafa's going to continue to play him, either off the left or the right now. But I thought he had a really, really solid game, especially in that second half, especially with his pace, dealing with Livramento. And I think that he just definitely brought pace to this Everton team, something that I haven't seen. Like last year, we had no pace on our team. You had Richie off of the left, Hammers off of the right. Hammers isn't going to have bundles of paces, and he's going to cut through the middle. And you look at that squad that we had last season, our fastest player was Ben Godfrey, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, which would probably be our 3 fastest players in that team. And now you have Andros. Andros doesn't have a bunch of pace, but he has a bit of pace. And then you have Demarai Gray, who adds a lot of pace to that team, which allows us to get forward. Say we're on a fast break, right? Damari's pace doesn't mean we have to wait for people to come with us. Say if Dom gets a ball in his chest and he's on the halfway line, he's not waiting for Richarlison to go from our penalty box all the way up to him. Or he's not waiting for Hammers to do that or Decore to do that. Someone like Richarlison and Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend will allow us to be more fluid and allow us to counterattack a lot better. And I think that's what we're going to need, especially in the games against the big teams like your Cities and your Chelseas and that. We're going to need some pace to utilize the counterattack a lot better than what we would have last season. And last season it worked very, very well in away games. And if you add a bit of pace into that sort of game plan, then you're going to see better results. So I think both Andros and Demarai had very, very good debuts for us, especially Pact Goodison. You know, the pressure's on them to sort of, because obviously you have fans in the ground that weren't too enamored by their signings. Obviously, Demarai Gray for 1.5 million there or thereabouts. Didn't do too well at Leicester. Went to Bayer Leverkusen. Didn't do much there. Comes to Everton. And it's sort of like, okay, let's see what you can do there. And obviously, Andros' free transfer to Crystal Palace was never going to enamor anyone either. But both had very solid debuts. And you can definitely see that there's a plan to the transfers. And that is something that I cannot stress enough. There's a plan to the transfer of those 2 players. Those 2 players were brought in for a reason. That reason being getting balls into the box and getting pace on the wings, which is exactly what we needed. And it's definitely clear to see that plan was there to bring players of that quality amidst all the FFP nonsense, if you will. Moving on from there, I sort of wanted to end on this point here. If let's say that game was under Carlo, and I sort of alluded to this a little bit earlier, I don't think we would have won that game. And even if we did go 2-1 up in that game, I think for 40 minutes or whatever it was, 30 minutes or 20 minutes of that game, we would have sat back and just let Southampton attack. Because that's what happened in the 3-2 against Fulham last season away. I'm pretty sure we were 3-0 up or 3-1 up or something like that. And then they score a second. And all we did for like 20 minutes of that game is sat back. And you're watching that game and you're thinking, we're going to concede here. There's no way we don't concede here. Thankfully, we didn't. But that, and then this game right here is sort of was the same sort of resemblance. We could have, under Carlo, just sat back and let them attack us and just soak up pressure until the final whistle and sort of let 2-1 be the result. But we didn't. It was 2-1, and then instantly, 5 minutes, it was 3-1. And then as soon as it was 3-1, we tried to score another goal. We tried to go for 4-1. Alex Iwobi missed a shot there that could have made it 4-1. And we kept attacking. We didn't just sit back, and granted, he brought Yerry Mina on in the last couple of minutes to sort of shore us up defensively, but we kept going. We wanted that 4th goal. And that is not something I've seen from this Everton team. I've seen this Everton team go up 2-1 and sit back for 20 minutes and be happy with that. But what I've seen from this Everton team in this game, and I'm not going to go overboard here because it's just one game, but what I saw from this performance in the second half was a team that wanted to put them to the sword. They didn't want to just be happy with a 2-1 win. They wanted a 3-1. They wanted a 4-1. Maybe they even wanted a 5-1. Like, they just wanted to put goals in the back of their net. And that is exactly the sort of fight and the desire we need from this Everton team is not to just be happy with a 2-1. Especially against teams like Southampton, teams like Burnley, like those lower tier teams. Say if we were 2-1 up against Liverpool, I don't think we would be still going for a third or a fourth. I think Rafa would be sort of knowledgeable enough to sort of bring on Yerry Mina, make it the 5 at the back, and let's consolidate defensively. But against these lower league teams, put them to the sword. Genuinely, put them to the sword. Because what I saw from this Everton team, putting them to the sword in the way that they did, DCL getting his 3rd goal, Iwobi almost scoring the 4th. That is something I've never seen from this Everton. Well, not never, but something I haven't seen from this Everton team for a very long time. And I'm very happy that that sort of mentality is being instilled within the players. And that's something that I think we can only benefit from moving forward. And I think that's sort of it for the match review. Very solid game. Very, very solid second half. Solid first half was a little bit tailored 2 halves type of game. But obviously we get the 3 points. That's very good. Rafa gets his first win under his belt, which is also good. Fans back in the crowd, which is very good as well. And yeah, 3 points, so there's not much more you can really ask for there.
Me and Lil J, we Scotty MJ, passing the rock, we hitting the fade. Pull up in a whip with 21 bays, here come the bastards, 21 days. Got you boy, I know he's a waste. Baby, I know that you want a little taste. I know you want all the bass in your face. Brand new bag and brand new nails. Me and Lil J, we Scotty MJ, passing the rock, we hitting the fade. Pull up in a whip with 21 bays, here come the bastards, 21 days.